Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Joe Gaither. I'm the host of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Most of you know me because I talk sports 5 times a week, and it is about to be football season. But it's also election season right here in Northport, and I'm a Northport resident, so this will not be about sports today. This is about the Northport Municipal City Elections coming up August 26th. And we've talked to a lot of the candidates. We're about to kind of put a bow on it with District 3 hopeful Jaime Conger. You can vote for Jamie on August 26th. She'll be on the ballot, and we're trying to get to know all our city council candidates. And I'm so thankful and grateful for your time today, Jamie. Thank you so much. And how are you?
I am doing good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, Jamie. We first have opened it up kind of as we did with everybody. Tell us just a little bit about yourself. How long have you been in Northport? What do you do in your regular job besides kind of running for city council? And just tell us just a little bit about your background.
All right. Well, I'm originally from Montgomery, Alabama, born and raised there, and I went from there to Furman University in Greenville, South Carolina, where I have a
Purple
bachelor.
Paladins.
I am a Purple Paladin. Yes, 5 points for you for knowing that.
Used to be the Christian Knights.
That is accurate as well. Wow, you really do know it. But yes, so I went to Furman and got a bachelor's in both political science and economics. And then I left from there and went to Tulane University for law school.
Green Wave.
Green Wave, absolutely. And then while I was there, this little thing happened. I don't know if you've heard of it, Hurricane Katrina. And that is the very first time I lived in Northport. So I had to evacuate my second year of law school.
Oh.
And the University of Alabama School of Law let a bunch of us in. And I actually lived in District 3 in Fairfax Village for that semester when we couldn't return home to New Orleans. And so then went back, graduated, practiced law for a year back in Montgomery. And then my now husband convinced me to move back to the fair city here. And I have been here, I think, going on, since 2008. I moved back here. My husband, John, is born and bred Northport. He has lived here all but college and law school. He actually is a lawyer turned police officer. We met while studying for the bar exam, and we have now been married. It'll be 16 years in December.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, great.
And we have 2 small children. Well, not so small anymore, they tell me, but Henry just turned 8 last week, and Vivian will be 10 in October, and they absolutely keep us busy. But other than that, I am a practicing attorney. I practice primarily in the areas of juvenile law, so delinquency and dependency, domestic relations, so all of your divorce, child custody, child support, things like that, and criminal defense law. So that is what I primarily do during the day when I'm not running for city council. And I'm in my own small business. I've been the owner of my own business for the last probably 8 or 9 years. And so I also am a small business owner in that effect. So that takes a lot of my time as well. But when I'm not doing all of those things, I do a pretty good bit of volunteer work. I'm the past president of the Tuscaloosa County Bar Association. I'm the past president of the Junior League of Tuscaloosa, and I serve on several boards now, the Arts Council and the Tuscaloosa Public Library Foundation being 2 of them. And those are near and dear to my heart because we need to support the arts and the library, and serve on some other boards as well. But I stay busy.
All right, you're hitting a lot of a lot of big marks in my first. When is your daughter's birthday in October?
10/14.
Oh, we're the 6 over here, so she's still cool.
Yeah,
very good.
yes.
And happy birthday, Henry.
Yes, thank you.
All right, and what is the small business?
Well, I mean, that's what, when you run your own law firm.
Okay, all right, yes.
You are, that's what I laugh. They don't teach you that in law school. So you've got to do payroll, you've got to do taxes, you got to keep the lights on. So there's a lot of things that are not covered in law school that happens when you're your own firm. And so that has been a learning curve as well. And I actually think it helps me understand a lot of these small businesses I'm interacting with, because that's what I have to do also in addition to practicing law.
A busy plate, lots on your plate. And that leads to an easy transition. With a lot on your plate, what is the motivation for running for District 3, the city council seat?
Well, I'll tell you, so this all started about 2021, 2022 for me. I live in Vestavia, and at that time, my neighbors got notice that they were going to build condominiums or attempt to build condominiums behind where the car wash is on Hunter Creek. And so I had several neighbors reach out to me, and actually now Mayor John Hinton, who was our representative at the time, reached out to me and asked me to step forward and help my neighbors argue against the development. And so I did that 2021, and then the development came back in 2022. I did another round, and it really got me interested in Northport politics, because if you'd asked me before that, I don't know that this would have been on my projection screen. But that is when it really started for me getting involved in Northport politics. And so, it'd been around in my head. And then we were driving down the road one day, and it was during some other election season, and there were signs out. And I looked at my kids and I said, well, what do you think, if mom put a sign out? And my daughter said, well, mom, you always say if you know there's a problem, leaders step up to the plate to help solve it. And so with that, I got served with my own lesson back at me, and I
They're
said,
always listening.
They are always listening." And so I said, "Well, okay, Vivian, all right." And so we had a big family discussion and decided this is what we were going to do, and we're going to try to help our neighbors.
Okay, well, what do you think Northport needs? Because you're running for a District 3 city council seat, and obviously, I've gotten involved with this just because of all the things you see online.
Right, right.
And so, really, I'll just ask you, what do you want to accomplish should the people elect you for that seat? What do you think Northport needs?
I think, my platform has been to restore trust in our council. We have had a complete breakdown somewhere between our citizens and our council. And that makes it incredibly difficult for any decision by the council, good, bad, or indifferent, to flourish, because the citizens don't trust that you did it with their best interest in mind, right? And so um, we've got to fix that. Whether it's University Beach, River Run Park, all these other things, if the citizens don't believe that their elected officials are doing what's in the best interest of the city, how are we going to get anywhere?
Mm.
And so there's some things that I've put out on my platform, on social media and elsewhere, but part of that is the transparency issue. I'm sure you have heard that a time or
Oh,
two.
yes.
I just did a new post today about it. The continued problems, the citizens just want to know what's going on.
Sure.
And I think a lot of the frustration is they're learning about things on the back end, and it just doesn't feel right that way, right? We want to know, well, what got us to this decision? What are we doing? And so the transparency would go a long way in restoring that trust. The way the council has been working with the current committee system, I think, is flawed. There are better ways to do that so that we ensure every district is equally represented and has a voice. We've talked about work sessions instead of those committee assignments. And I think that way everyone knows what's going on. And again, there's that transparency, right? Because everyone has a voice. And then we have an infrastructure problem. I don't know if you knew that. I'm sure this is brand new information to you, since you've done all these interviews.
Well, I live right close to Main Avenue.
Oh, bless you. Okay.
Yeah, I live in District 1 and walk the dog down Main Avenue.
Yeah. So you roads, right?
Continue. Go right ahead.
So if you're in District 3, what you're going to learn, and what I've done a lot of for the last few months, is I have walked more creek beds, culverts,
Floods,
dams.
right?
We are flooding. And this is not going to be a short-term solution. It's going to be a long-term solution, and we can't just keep ignoring it. No, it's not super cool like a beach or a park or whatever, but if we want beaches and parks, you have to have the sewage pipes and the roads and everything else to facilitate that. Not to mention the stress it puts on your residents, the small businesses that are already there. I've been with neighbors who are rescuing their dogs because they're drowning in floods in their backyard. And, my favorite line lately has been, people don't really care about a lagoon when they've got one in their backyard. right? And so we've got to come up with a plan because it's affecting not only District 3, but Northwood Lake has so many districts now in its grasp. I've walked out there with people from other districts to collaborate and say, what can we do? What's the game plan? Where is this coming from? What's the short-term solution? What's the long-term solution? That is a really big goal for me because I do want to see Northport succeed. I want to see more businesses here. I think I get a bad rap sometimes because of the University Beach thing. Or I am not anti-growth. I am pro responsible growth with putting infrastructure in to support that growth. And we've put the cart before the horse, unfortunately. And so that's been a really big issue. And that's when I'm out meeting people, they're talking about flooding in District 3. And so that's really where I've put a lot of focus.
We're talking to Jaime Conger. You can vote for her on the Northport Municipal City Elections, August 26th. She's going to be running for election in District 3. Jaime, what do you think Northport's doing well?
I think that we are trying to grow. We are trying to move in a positive growth direction. Do I think some of our steps have been misguided? Yes. As a lawyer, do I think we could have done things differently in a lot of areas? Yes. But I do agree we need to grow, and I just want to see us do that while still taking care of the people who are already here.
Mm.
And so I am happy that we're growing. I think River Run Park is going to be a great development. And I hear people, they keep calling it, oh, it's a baseball softball park. And I got the privilege of going to something the other day, and the hope is it's going to be more than that. And so I think if you put that development and let it flourish, I think things will build around it. And so I do think that overall will be a positive development for Northport.
Well, believe River and Park's opening Saturday, right?
Yes, yes, it
Okay.
is. Looks like they have a full slate of activities planned.
I think that I'm going to be down there just to see some of those activities and get really my first eyes on it firsthand. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I'll tell you, my
Yeah,
son,
please.
Henry, is super excited because he has played for Warrior Baseball since he was 4. And he said, "Mom, you think we're going to get to play on that field?" And I was like, "I don't know, son. That's what I'm hearing." So we're a baseball family. We are a proud supporter of Warrior Baseball in our house, and we're very excited about that partnership.
Well, I think it's going to be. I mean, it looks from an outside perspective. I don't have any children, but looks like it's going to be something the whole city can rally around.
Absolutely, and and that's the thing when you do something like a River Run Park, it plants a seed in that area, right?
Hmm.
And you're going to need restaurants for people to go to around it. You're going to need, you know, development of shopping places, things like that. And it will start that effect. And I think that the good thing about River Run Park is you can look at that developer. He's done this before. You can look at his previous development and watch how it grew that city. I think it's a stark contrast from something else we'll probably talk about in a minute. But when you look at the possibilities there, I am encouraged.
Well, why don't we go right into it? Because University Beach is really it seems like the main issue that's on the table for the citizens of Northport. Um, just I'll just open right up a big broad question. What are your thoughts on University Beach?
Well, and here's the thing, and I have been very consistent in what I've said because I am a lawyer,
Mm.
and I do try to look at things realistically. When I meet with clients, I tell them, and one of my campaign advisors is going to cringe right now because I'm going to say this phrase: I don't blow smoke. Sorry, Chuck.
Sorry, Chuck.
But I don't sugarcoat things, and there are contracts signed, there are things that have been done. What is the extent of that? I don't know because I don't currently sit on the council. What is it going to look like in November if I do become a member of the council? I can't tell you that. I'm obviously not privy to that. I think the smartest thing that the new seated council can do is hire outside counsel to review all of the contracts, all of the legal documentation, and see what can be done. Can there be something done? Are there benchmarks that have to be met? We need to hold them responsible for their end of the bargain if we're going to be in this. I don't want the city to obviously go bankrupt. I've heard several things. As you said, social media is just exploding over the. Nobody wants to see Northport bankrupt. Nobody wants to see. I think this goes back to everybody thought a water park was coming, and then not a lot of things happened. Then all of a sudden, something monstrous was presented and contracts signed and things like that. So we have to deal with the reality of the situation and do what is best for Northport. But I will tell you this: if I'm elected, we're going to look at it. We're going to look at the contracts. We're going to look at everything that's been done and see what we can do. I'm listening to the citizens. I know the majority of the citizens. I've yet to have someone come up to me and say I'm in favor of it. And I have been a lot of places in the last few months. And I know there are some out there who are in favor of it, but we're going to get to the bottom of it, see what has happened, what can be done, and move forward for the best interest of Northport.
What do you think that looks like? Obviously, you're not privy to all the information at the moment, but with the people who are telling you, "Oh, we're not in favor of it," and you say there's no one that's spoken to you that is in favor of it, what are they hopeful for? Or what do you think that maybe you might be able to deliver for them?
Well, and because it's a multi-phase project, right? And so right now, I think all of us, the running joke is you go past a big mound of dirt right now.
Yes,
So
I
I,
stop at
I
the
don't know,
Walmart
I
down
don't know
there.
what's happening behind the big mound of dirt, but
Sure.
you know, my concern is, for example, I posted today about this when we're talking about the transparency thing. A couple of weeks ago at City Council, there was a resolution for the City Council to support University Beach's application for the Sweet Home Alabama Tourism Investment Act.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I said that right. Um, Bobo, Wiggins, and Washington voted yes. The other two voted no. And I had citizens, not even from my district, there's like, if you looked at this deeply, and I said, well, let me take a deeper look at this. Well, that act, the rebates don't occur until you are actually earning revenue, right?
Hmm.
So then you start thinking, okay, it's July of 2025. We're going to seat a new council by definition because Danny Higdon's elected, right? So there's going to be a new council in November, regardless of anything else.
Sure.
And why did we do this in July? It could have waited for the new council, right?
Sure.
And we are still far from any benchmark of University Beach making any type of revenue. So that's your first, okay, what's going on with that, right? And then you start looking at the application, and there's a lot of information that goes into that application. And my question is, why were we voting on an application that I am not sure was seen by anybody? So it's just things like that. Why are we doing things in haste and without proper research to make sure whatever it is, whether it's maybe they only get through phase one, then we'll have to deal with that. There are just certain things we could do better for our citizens. Not a blind yes, not a, I want to see your application, because if you look at that application, they had to attach a whole bunch of things to it that would be really interesting to know before I vote. So that's what I'm looking for, is give me more information so that I can, when a citizen comes up to me and says I'm against it, I can say, well, here's what I know.
Sure.
Does that change your mind about anything? Right now, what do I know? What do they know? Because I was at that council meeting. The three yeses did not ask a single question. So, why are you voting yes to support an application? Literally, the verbiage was to support an application, and you haven't read the application. As a lawyer, let me just tell you, if we were in a court case, that would not be happening, or I would be in some serious trouble. So, that's the kind of things I'm looking at that we could absolutely do better.
From a practical standpoint, what are ways that the city council, should you be elected, improve the transparency?
I think with technology, as we've seen in this election, you can get information to people so many different ways now. whether it be a listserv, whether it be a social media site, simple things of, if the citizens want to know what's on the council agenda, and yes, they're on the City of Northport website, but let's say they want to give their email address and I can push out to District 3 residents, here's the council agenda, here's planning and zoning. With the condominiums I mentioned earlier, a lot of the problem was some things had happened years before to rezone and nobody was paying attention. And so we were years down the road and there's only so many things you can do. That needs to be cut out, right? And the easy thing is to say, okay, here's what's going to planning and zoning. And so somebody can say, whoa, that's around the corner from me, and
Mhm.
bring it to my attention so that I can become more familiar with the situation and properly represent them. So that's what I'm looking to achieve is how do we efficiently get the information out to those who want it so that everybody can have the voice that they're really clamoring for right now.
We're hanging out with Jaime Conger. She's running for election in District 3 City Council. You guys can all vote August 26th, and we're trying to get to know her and the issues. You mentioned being a small business owner. What are ways we can attract more small businesses to Northport? And just we'll open up the whole economic basket right here, and I'll just let you kind of go. Supporting small businesses
Yeah.
is kind of a big one. How can we attract more small businesses? How can we support existing businesses? I go up and down Laurel Wallace pretty frequently,
Yeah.
supporting existing businesses. And really, what do you want to see attracted to Northport?
Well, I'll tell you. So right now, one of the other things I'm proud to be a part of is I'm currently the chair of the Northport Redevelopment Authority,
Okay.
and I've been on that now 5, 6 years. It was during COVID. It started right around COVID times. And part of that has been we've been doing a facade improvement program. The first round of it were much smaller grants. This round has been much larger grants aimed at the corridors because, like you said, you drive down Lurley and Wallace, right? And so you can see some of that in the development that's right in front of Vestavia.
Mhm.
That was a facade improvement program. There's a development right down outside your studio that received grant money. And so you can see those small grants putting a fresh look on these businesses that are already here. And so that has been something I've really been proud of is that we're trying to put money back into our community and the small businesses that are already here. Um, I, whether it's we need to do some small business forums to find out what they need from us. I think we presume a lot about
Mm.
what people need.
Mhm.
We need to listen to them as to what are their wants, what are their needs. Do we need to do more small business programs around the holidays? You see Tuscaloosa. I know we're not supposed to compare to each other,
It's hard not to, right?
exactly. But you see around Christmas they'll do different programs with maps to different small businesses in the downtown area. Do we need to be doing more like that to make sure people know that they're there?
I'm a fan of Restaurant Week in the summer when all the students are gone.
Yes, it's lovely. I enjoy that as well. And
I'm
so,
brokenhearted over Buddy's closing, and
yeah,
restaurants like that maybe.
I, we need more restaurants because you're going to bring. I love Billy's, right? Love Billy's. And as a Warrior baseball mom, we eat at Billy's a lot. And so we're very familiar with Billy's. Um, I'd love to see some more restaurants in that area to really make that into a location where let's walk down the street, let's go in this restaurant, maybe we go to a bar and grill here, things like that. So we need to figure out a way to attract that business, keep that business, and support it. I got to go to Jake's Juke Joint the other night. Very big fan. If you haven't been, go try it out. Great new restaurant, and I love to see that development. And so, if we can continue to support, you know, things like that, and like we've done with the redevelopment authority, I think that we owe our small business owners that.
A lot of our conversations that I've had with prospective city council members has been about the children in Northport, the future of Northport. I'd just like to ask you, Obviously, two small kids as well. What do you want to see for your two children, and just for children in general in the area?
Well, I mean, I think the current, like in District 3, we need parks. We need places for them to go, that are actually in the city of Northport, right?
Mhm.
So, I take my kids to a lot of places. Unfortunately, not a lot of them are in the city limits of Northport. They need things to do. And I know that that is part of the argument for University Beach, and River Run Park obviously will have that. Um, but they also need to be affordable for every family. Um, this should be an inclusive city that we have events and locations for people of every, for everybody. And so, I'd like to see that. I'd like us to support education. What the city can do. I mean, is the county school system,
Yeah.
and as a lawyer here again, there's only so much we can do at times, but there are funds that are put towards the schools, and I think that needs to continue, to support education, because as we bring these businesses here, that's one of the things they're looking at. They're going to bring their kids. Are they going to get a good education? Are there things to do? And so that's what we need to do.
If you could wave a magic wand and bring businesses to Northport, what would you want to bring? You mentioned restaurants, and that's great. Maybe you can mention a style or a particular restaurant that you'd like, or just kind of put yourself in the driver's seat. And obviously, that's not the way it works. I
Yeah, I
know
know.
that that's not the way it works. But
I'm laughing because I literally tell people that when they come into my office for legal advice. I'm like, if you wave a magic wand, what would you like for me to be able to do? So you use my own words on
okay,
me.
yeah, right. So, what in the business realm, if Jamie Conger could get her way or her family's way, what would that look like?
I would like to see more bars and restaurants. I would like to see, around Main Avenue be more walkable with that kind of with shops, restaurants, bars, things like that. That you see in other towns of our size. You got to have that walkability, right? We don't have a whole lot of clothing stores for women. I mean, I do love Irvin's. I do love a good pair of cowboy boots. Bought some recently, but we need more things like that to attract a wider variety. And it wouldn't hurt to have some more kid-friendly locations for the kids to go to. All of the kid parks are pretty much down the road. So, Upsurge and, those type of places, to at least get one over here would funnel a lot of the children's activities, and what happens after that? Then they go eat. So, it all kind of piggybacks on each other. So, I would love to see things like that come to Northport.
Now you mentioned the education and kind of the entanglements as if it's a county school system, but there are 10 schools that are right here in the city limits.
Right,
Um, we've heard from the other city council candidates, and obviously I've learned so far that the city has given roughly
right,
$350,000 a year to to various projects in the schools. But so many people on the internet don't really realize the entanglements, and so you hear we got to do more for our kids. When you hear that, we got to do more for education, we got to do more for the schools. What's
right.
your response to that?
I mean, that it's a bit of a legal, like you said, entanglement, because those are Tuscaloosa County schools. And so the county, kind of has their say over that. Now we are, like you said, approximately 350,000. I think that's the number I've heard too, put into the schools, but we're going to have to find a different way to support our schools, because right now it is not a Northport school system.
Sure.
We had that vote that did not happen, unfortunately, and so, or fortunately, however you feel about that.
How do you
Um,
feel about it?
I don't think we can afford it as it sits here. And I think that's part of the problem. I think would take a much deeper dive to figure out what the feasibility of that would be. So, you know, and it obviously it didn't happen when the
Sure.
vote came up.
Sure.
So, but I think we need to support our teachers however we can. I know that certain council members, they use their discretionary funds to try to support projects and things like that. And I'd like to see that continue. And that's something I would like to do, if in that position.
What are the ways that Northport can increase revenue as a whole? Because that's kind of the big albatross here, right?
Gotta bring people in, right? And so, I think what we were just talking
Yeah,
about, when
yeah.
you bring those businesses, you bring those restaurants, but I think, easier said than done, right? You don't want to spend all of your money. I always tell clients, don't throw good money at bad money.
Mhm.
And so, there's a fine line there that we've got to walk. And so, yes, we attract the businesses that'll bring people to generate the tax revenue, but we can't sell the city, and when we're trying to make that happen. And so we got to find that fine line of bringing that revenue in through the businesses, without it being at the expense of too heavy a financial debt burden on the city. So, respond it goes back to responsible growth.
We're hanging out with Jaime Conger, and I just have a few more questions for District 3 hopeful on the Northport City Council. You can vote August 26th. I really encourage you to get out and vote. Just my own personal plea, there was not enough people voting in the last election. And if you've got thoughts and opinions, I know you all do, get out and vote. We'll just keep it going and ask you, who's supporting your campaign? Everybody's got supporters. I don't care about Jimmy Smith giving you $5 or Sally Sue giving you $10, but really, people want to know who's supporting the candidates, and so
Right.
really, who is supporting you?
Right. And my financials have been filed. I believe we just filed the most recent one today, maybe. We're getting down to where you have to file them more
We
frequently.
pretty much weekly at this point, I think.
I'm disappointed that not everyone is filing theirs. And that raises some questions for me. But I think if you look at my financial reports, you will see the PAC donation that you see will be the Northport PAC. I don't think that's any secret, that they have endorsed me. The firefighters have endorsed me. They have contributed to my campaign. A lot of the other names you're going to see are my friends and family who support me in everything I do, whether it's my coworkers or my longtime friends from junior league, that are proud of me and supporting me with some financial donations and things like that. Also, my family, my brother, things like that. You'll see those on there too. So nothing too exciting. And like I said, you can, if the citizens are curious, you can look up all of the PAC donations. You can look up on both ends, on the Secretary of State website, and that will get you the answers to where that money is coming from. So if someone's filing a financial report, which I have. So you can look at mine. If you have specific questions about anybody on there, please feel free to contact me. I'm an open book on that. So
You're talking about your supporters. How does your husband feel about you being in the public eye at this point?
he is my number one champion. He is my sign deliverer. He is he is at all of the meet and greets, with me, accompanying me, and I don't think I could do this without him. I'm a very lucky woman that I have a very supportive husband. That when I come to him with these crazy ideas, he doesn't run. He says, "Okay, well, how are we going to make this work?" And we both have always had servants' hearts. And, he grew up here. And, the very first house he ever lived in coming home from the hospital was in Vestavia. So this has really come full circle for him. And so, he wants to see Northport succeed too. And so I'm proud for us to all be in this together.
Well, Jamie, we've talked about University Beach, we've talked about education, we've talked about economic development, a little bit of infrastructure. What do you think that maybe I haven't asked you, or is there anything that you think, oh, we should talk about this before the election?
I think you hit the nail on the head that people need to get out and vote. It's one thing to sit on Facebook or Instagram or the other things that I'm too old to know about, apparently. And but you need to get out and let your voice be heard through your vote. And so make sure you're registered, make sure your registration is correct, and get down there to vote on August 26th. I think we've covered all the major points, but
Is
if
there
there
anything close to you that you think, oh man, this is a little personal project to me, or a pipe dream, whatever, just daydreams?
well, I laugh because my platform is restore trust, and trust is a mnemonic device because that is how I always studied for tests is with a
Hmm.
mnemonic device, and the S in it is sewage pipes, not pipe dream.
Okay, okay, right.
So, I will say if you'd asked me at the very beginning, what are you going to hone in on? I don't know that I would have had as clear a picture. But as I have walked through these neighborhoods with these citizens, I really want to get to the bottom of the infrastructure issue in District 3 and work together, with all the entities that need to be involved so that, my neighbors can enjoy their homes without flooding or the threat of flood. And so I'd really like to hone in on what can we do? What are the long-term ways? Because it's going to have to be long. It's not going to be an easy project. What are the long-term ways that we can get our citizens some relief?
Well, I'll leave you the last word if you want to address the potential voters, and we can basically wrap this thing up.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope you will get out on August 26th and vote for me. If you would like more information on my campaign, you can find me at electjamieconger.com. And I am Jaime as opposed to Jamie Dykes, who is the Jamie. But electjamieconger.com. I also have a Facebook page that is active. This week, you can follow. I am revisiting my platform points and updating those with some talking points from the campaign trail. And so that's a real good look at where I'm focusing my efforts. And you can always message me, call me, email me, electjamieconger@gmail.com. And I would love to hear from you and find out what is important to you for the future of Northport.
You excited for tomorrow night? The big forum tomorrow night.
I am ready. If you can't tell, lawyers like to talk. So, anytime you're going to put me up there to talk, I get excited. But no, I am excited to answer the questions and see what everyone else has to say. I think it will be an interesting night and will be very informative for the voters.
She's Jaime Conger, and you can vote for her on August 26th. She's running for election for District 3 Northport City Council seat. I hope you all get out and vote. And we've had a lot of fun getting to know the hopefuls for City Council. I'll keep this going as we are looking to the mayors. Probably next is my next assignment. There's 4 mayors on the ballot, and we will try to keep getting to know your candidates for these Northport municipal elections.